I give the president tremendous credit. John Ratcliffe, Mike Walsh, others, absolute A-plus picks. The more you get to know Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard, the more you're going to like her. The more you get to know Matt Gaetz, the less you're going to like him. I'm going to be really surprised if he can get confirmed.
Ah, yes, Congressman Trey Gowdy. Apparently he doesn't like Matt Gaetz either. Matt Gaetz stirred up some trouble in the House of Representatives, and, you know, they don't like people stirring up, especially if they get more camera time than you. That's always a big problem up there. Well, well, well. It is Thursday in America. We just had the 1-week anniversary of President Trump mopping the floor with Kamala Harris in a rout in the Electoral College, in the popular vote. Have you seen the map of the United States, the electoral of the map of the United States in red and blue, and the little tiny patches of blue around the country? Democrat strongholds, big cities, a lot of crime, illegal aliens, gangs, drugs, people shooting each other, carjackings, and Democrat voters. But part of that is redundant, isn't it? Yes, it is. I have a full plate today, as you might imagine. Once again, this morning on MSDNC, they had the Hollywood movie actor Richard Gere on. You know, Richard Gere. Richard Gere. Didn't he say he's moving to Spain? He's moving to Spain, right? He wants to move to Spain. He's leaving the country, but he's gonna he's got a $20 million house. Is that what it is in Connecticut that he bought from Paul Simon? Is that correct? The musician, and he may just keep the $20 million house on ice while he goes to Spain with his wife. It's really, I think, it smells like a long vacation, doesn't it? I think it's a long vacation. And he was on Richard Gere. Did he have any small pets with him? Any little pets with him at all? And I wonder if he can bring small pets into Spain, or whether they'll check for that sort of thing. I can't say for sure. But he was on because he has a new movie, since he's a movie actor and stuff. And his new movie is called Oh Canada, which happens to be the name of their anthem in Canada, too. It's a very nice anthem. It's a very nice country. It's America's hat. It's America's largest national park. And we like our largest national park. We're happy that it's up there. It's great. But his new movie, Oh Canada, is about Richard Gere as a young man. There's somebody that plays Richard Gere as a young man who flees the United States to escape the Vietnam War and go to Canada to get away because they don't want to fight communism. They just want to be wussies and roll over for totalitarianism and become slaves, and that's what they become. That's who they are. Amazing stuff. But it reminded me of, I don't really have any intention of going to see the movie if it's even in theaters. They have theaters anymore? Because they don't have. There are some theaters. I like theaters. We should save movie theaters. We should save movies, too. But with all these commies and anti-American stuff in Hollywood, they really should all move. You should go to another country and make movies there, see if they like your stuff there. But I was reminded when I saw this Oh Canada movie directed apparently by Paul Schrader. And he did, American Gigolo all those years ago. He did American Gigolo with Richard Gere all those years ago. I enjoy mispronouncing his name in various ways. But Richard Gere was in that movie, American Gigolo. This guy directed it now decades and decades later, making another movie, Oh Canada, and he flees the United States to get away from the draft in Vietnam because he didn't want to fight communism. He's pro-totalitarian. And it reminded me of a great story because I covered the Pentagon for about 10 years, right, as a newsman. And I was having lunch or dinner one day with the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who told a remarkable story about his dinner with the Canadian Chief of Staff. And the Canadian Chief of Staff told the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the United States, he said, "Did you know, General, that during the Vietnam War, there was a greater number of Canadians that went to the United States to join the U.S. military, to get into the war in Vietnam to fight communism, than there were Americans that fled the United States and went to Canada to get out of serving in the military and going to fight communism in Vietnam. And I always thought that was a pretty fascinating story. More Canadians came here to the United States to get into the war to fight communists in Vietnam than there were Americans that fled the United States and went to Canada to get out of fighting communism in the war in Vietnam. Isn't that amazing? Kind of a remarkable story, I've got to say. You bet your bottom dollar. So we've got that covered. We've got a lot of other things going today too. That's the only place I've ever seen that or been told that, but it's quite remarkable. I've got to say, yes, it is. Yeah, and Matt Gaetz, the big controversy now, Matt Gaetz, and as Attorney General, as a guy that was targeted corruptly by a corrupt Justice Department, and I think it's kind of a great choice in the end because he's a disruptor. He has a dog in this fight. He has personal experience with a corrupt Justice Department, and he, and I know people think of him as a bit of a loose cannon or something, but maybe that's just what you need in the Justice Department right now. And Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, at the Department of Defense, the military has gone so crazy in so many different ways with left-wing influence and DEI, and, I'm trying to get in touch with my white rage, and we've had chairmen of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and generals and admirals who are members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff who have some pretty wacky ideas about fighting wars, which means, killing people and breaking things, which is really the sole mission of the U.S. military. But instead, they're looking for environmentally friendly ships and all kinds of ridiculous left-wing agenda items that have become ingrained in the ethos, if you will, of the U.S. military. And this stuff doesn't belong in the ethos of the United States military. But never mind that. Just amazing, amazing stuff. We've got lots of fun going on inside the Trump cabinet with Elise Stefanik, New York Republican Congresswoman, to be ambassador to the United Nations. We've got Congressman Mike Waltz, who is a Florida congressman and a Green Beret officer, a combat veteran, to become National Security Advisor. Congressman Matt Gaetz, also from Florida, to be Attorney General. And he's a lawyer. He hasn't been an active government apparatchik who's risen through the ranks at the Justice Department. But I really don't care about that right now. I think we need some outsiders. President Trump is an outsider and a disruptor. He's not a career politician. He's not a career member of the House and the Senate, not a career state politician and governor, where you normally get your presidents of the United States. And he's a disruptor. And that's really, our government has become so corrupt and so sloppy that I believe and untrustworthy and untrusted by the American people, that we elected a disruptor to be president of the United States. And it's natural that President Trump, as a disruptor, would choose someone like Pete Hegseth at the Department of Defense. And I've got to say, it surprised me when I first saw it. But a tour of duty as an Army officer in Iraq, a tour of duty as an Army officer in Afghanistan, a tour of duty at Guantanamo Bay, where we keep terrorists, and the Democrats want to, give them free gifts and fruit baskets and keep them alive forever because the Democrats are really not on our side. But remarkable stuff going on, and I think that it's probably a very good idea to put people in place that are disruptors. All right? Got, honestly, all kinds of people, the Department of Homeland Security, Governor Kristi Noem. She's a governor. She's a chief executive, and she's on the side of America, and she's not a Washington machine apparatchik. I think that's probably a good thing. I like it very much. I love Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy coming in for the DOGE, right? The Department of Government Efficiency. And the news media is attacking the whole idea of government efficiency. They're like, government efficiency? What's that? And that's the news media. Our news media are political organizations. They're not journalistic organizations anymore. Some were at one point. But now our news media are just front groups for the Democrat Party almost universally. And where they're not, you have to be identifiably pro-American, like Newsmax, for example, like this show and this radio station where you're listening to this show, conservative political talk radio. Fox News would sometimes fall into that category, and not always, as people will tell you. But our news media, the most corrupt institution in America, remarkable stuff. We've got, of course, Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. Who's our Secretary of State now? Where's he? What's he doing about the war in Europe and the war in the Middle East? Shouldn't he be busy as our chief diplomat? I remember when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, she spent all of her time watching wars explode around the world and shredding documents on weekends. That's what she spent her time doing as Secretary of State. Remarkable stuff. We got Tom Homan as the border czar. That's wonderful stuff. Stephen Miller, Deputy White House Chief of Staff. That's a wonderful thing. Lee Zeldin of New York, former Republican House member and gubernatorial candidate at the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. I like clean air and clean water. Susie Wiles as the Chief of Staff at the White House, the first woman Chief of Staff. The news media doesn't care. Suddenly, identity politics no longer important. When you have the first woman as the White House Chief of Staff, very powerful post in Washington, D.C. But the news media could care less because, they just wanted to destroy everything. It's amazing stuff. Just amazing. And Tulsi Gabbard coming in, and they're attacking her now and saying she's not qualified. I'm sorry. Suddenly being qualified for these positions when a Democrat's not in the White House, then you've got to check boxes that the White House press corps gets to sign off on. Is that how this works? And the people in the newsroom at the New York Times and the Washington Post, they get to sign off on your qualifications. Explain to me the qualifications of everybody in the Biden cabinet, if anybody can name anybody in the Biden cabinet. Secretary of Defense is a retired four-star general. He gave us the Army general. And he gave us the Afghanistan withdrawal. Very good job there. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. And they're all going to be attacked. And this is another, let me just say this for Democrats, Democrat voters. This is, you're watching a real-time masterclass in government corruption and Democrat Party corruption. The news media is key to all of that, of course. Absolutely key, because they couldn't carry off this lie without a compliant news media, a collaborating news media, with co-conspirators in the news media. Isn't that amazing? And this is the biggest lie ever told. What we're living through right now in the United States of America is the biggest lie ever told. And it's being told by the Democrat Party and their allies in a corrupt news media, in a collaborative news media. There was no Russian collusion. Masks don't work. Vaccines don't keep you from getting the Wuhan Red Death. The list is so long, it's just amazing. And now they're ginning up new ones all over the place, too, because it's what they do. It's the lie machine. It's their gurgle thing. A lie told once remains a lie. A lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth. And the Democrat Party lives by that. And their media collaborators. Again, Matt Gaetz was investigated for about 2 years by the Justice Department for all kinds of terrible accusations, and then they just dropped the whole thing because there was nothing there. There will be no charges, they said. Then they said, well, we had 2 witnesses, but they're not reliable witnesses. We wouldn't dare go into court with them because they're such losers as witnesses. We're not going to do it. And then later they quietly dropped the whole case, but the Democrats are still citing it as a reason why Matt Gaetz should not become Attorney General. I would cite it as a primary reason why he should become Attorney General, because he has been the target of abuses by a corrupt Justice Department, a politicized Justice Department. That's another reason he should become Attorney General, not a reason that he should not become Attorney General. And by the way, the Senate voted yesterday, and they confirmed John Thune, a Republican from South Dakota, as the Republican Senate Majority Leader, taking the position and the office, it's a beautiful office looking up the mall, away from the Lizard King, from Chuck Schumer, who's not on our side. And there's a lot of controversy about that for a variety of reasons. I got a bit of audio of him saying that he will carry the Trump agenda forward, and then we'll have to wait and see what really happens. We shall see. It's an exciting television show we have here in Washington, D.C., isn't it? It's not much of a government, but it makes for a lot of TV and ratings. You know that America's strength is not just built, it's also worn. For those among us who put in the hours to get things done in America, G-Defy shoes are made right for you. With patented VersaShock technology, G-Defy, they don't just talk comfort, they engineer comfort. Every step you take, G-Defy shoes help to absorb harmful shock and provide trampoline-like energy return underneath your feet. My best girl and I, we've got pairs of G-Defy shoes. They sent us pairs. We hike around the city. Your feet feel better after your hike than they felt before your hike. They're designed for hardworking people, for parents, for those who stand tall no matter what, like Americans. Just go to gdefy.com and use the code Chris. You'll get $20 off your order of $100 or more. That's code Chris for $20 off orders of $100 or more, because even champions need to rest. Go to gdefy.com today. Yes, sir. All right, a lot to get to, a lot of audio, a lot of stories, the cabinet, and a lot more. President Trump, the Congress, Capitol Hill, the news media. Trump was spied on. Our government. We need to get them under control.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgle and the Third Reich in terms of telling a big lie? I just want to make sure that's what I heard you say.
That's right.
November is Trump Derangement Syndrome Awareness Month. Get your, they got brown ribbons for TDS Awareness Month. November, every month is something Awareness Month, right? Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Don, calling from the great state of Nebraska. Don, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good to talk to you again. Hey, all of these people that are talking about who's not qualified for all of these new positions under Trump, the left sure seem to have no problem putting all their trust in a 17-year-old Swedish girl when it came to the environment.
They love child prophets. Greta von Thunberg you're talking about, of course. Greta Thunberg, who is she's a prophet of doom, a child prophet of doom.
What experience did she have?
She was a child who could be manipulated and abused by the left.
Oh, of course, yes.
That's it. And then you remember David Hogg, the teenager out of Florida who they made a teenage prophet of doom on the Second Amendment and on firearms. They love using and abusing children in myriad ways. But you're absolutely right. And how about, Kamala Harris's qualifications? Look at her. Lord.
I've become friends with school shooters.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, Jim just sent me the, we should put this out there. We should put this on the social media, the TDS ribbon, the Trump Derangement Syndrome ribbon, because November is TDS Awareness Month. And what better month with Election Day, 9 days behind us now, President Trump coming back to the White House, the Republicans taking control of the Senate, and now officially taking control of the House of Representatives, as President Trump is picking his cabinet, and each and every one of them will find themselves under attack. Now, a Democrat congresswoman, former Democrat congresswoman, Tulsi Gabbard, U.S. Army veteran, a lieutenant colonel to this day in the Army Reserves. She actually did go to Iraq, unlike Tim Walz, and she's under attack. She's a Russian agent and a communist spy. Isn't she terrible? It's awful. Man, oh, man. And, of course, Matt Gaetz, as Attorney General, he was targeted by the corrupt Justice Department with phony charges that years later they just dropped one day as though it never happened at all. But the Democrats keep using it to smear because, what was the point of spending millions and millions of dollars investigating an enemy congressman if you can't continue to use it as a smear, even though the whole thing went away? Poof. Just gone. Amazing stuff. Yes, sir. Also, I should just a quick story. Yesterday, I was down at Newsmax. here in Washington, D.C., getting ready to do my TV show, which airs Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And at Newsmax, when the son of the Shah of Iran was at the Newsmax station for an interview, and it's kind of a crazy story, but his name is Reza Pahlavi, and his father was, Reza Pahlavi, his father was the last Shah of Iran, and, Jimmy Carter in 1979, and the Islamist takeover of Iran, and they seized the U.S. Embassy and took hostages and all that stuff, and the Pahlavi family fled Iran, and Jimmy Carter didn't help out our ally, kind of a classic example of he's a son of a bitch, but he's our son of a bitch, right? And things got so much worse for Iranians and for the region and for the world and for the United States as a result of Jimmy Carter's inaction and not supporting our ally there because, oh, no, we can't get involved in, and it was a really bad decision. We're paying the price, suffering the consequences of Jimmy Carter's bad decision-making. Even to this day, Israel being attacked by Iranian proxies and Hezbollah out of Lebanon and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Hamas out of the Gaza, which is a two-state solution, by the way, and the Houthis out of Yemen, all funded by Iran. Iran funded by the Biden administration and the Obama administration because they're not on our side. Boy, are they not on our side. And if you're an Iranian, the best thing that could happen is that the regime there would be overthrown. And honestly, if the Pahlavi family came back, that would be a much better circumstance for the Iranian people, for the region, and for the world than we currently have. But in any case, I was down there, and Reza Pahlavi, son of the Shah, was there at Newsmax, and I saw him and a couple of his people and security people and so on. Were there, and we were talking, and then Mr. Pahlavi and his, Highness, he is technically the heir to the throne in Iran, an ancient kingdom and all that good stuff. But I had a chance to talk to him for a little while, and we had, and I don't want to say everything that was exchanged, but we had a very nice conversation, Reza Pahlavi and myself, and very nice man, very serious, very intelligent, calm, cool, and collected, and we had a nice talk about the state of, not so much of the world more broadly, but of the region, and I had a few things to say. I got a little political. Reza Pahlavi did not get very political, but I talked about the Obama administration failing to step up during the Green Revolution when the people of Iran were rising up against the Islamic Revolution. And Barack Hussein Obama, I should say in this context, was nowhere to be found. Joe Biden was nowhere to be found. They were not on the side of the people while the people, young women, were being gunned down in the streets in Iran by the Islamic Revolution. And, nothing could be better for the world than that regime being lost to the sands of time and gobbled up by history, because the Persian culture is an extraordinary and great culture. It goes back millennia. For example, they invented the windmill. Did you know that? And chess, and the windmill, a couple of things to come out of Persia, Iran. It's an amazing culture that if they were still under the Shah's family, under the Pahlavi family, they'd be great partners to Western civilization. Women in Iran under the Shah could dress normally, didn't have to cover up, could wear pantsuits, could wear skirts, could wear miniskirts, went to college, did normal things out there in the world. And then the Islamists took over, and now the Democrats are backing the Islamists. It's terrible. But in any case, and it was kind of strange because I met him one time decades ago in Santa Barbara, California, in Montecito, actually, at someone's house. And we were both younger then. But Reza Pahlavi and members of his family were in Santa Barbara and Montecito at the time. And I ran into him many years ago. He remembered it well. He didn't really. I'm just kidding. But we met years ago. And yesterday I got to talk to him. And the truth is, it would be better if his family were still in charge. It would be better if the Ayatollahs were not in charge. And the vast majority of Iranians living in Iran today would agree with that, too, and believe that, too. But Washington, TV news business, all that stuff. And he would be, in theory, the Shah now, still not an old man. And it's a remarkable story. But it was fun running into him, fun talking to him, nice talking to him. And he, he's on the side of civilization. And we talked a little bit about civilization and the state of civilization, which is under attack. And I talk about that here, under assault, everywhere you look these days. That's a fact, Jack. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we got that. Yes, sir. And Matt Gaetz, he's stirring things up. Now, I've got a lot to get to, so enough about me. Let's get to some of our stuff here, because let's go to soundbite number one. This is Democrat Senator John Fetterman, also known as Lurch, member of the Adams family. He's a peculiar man, but I've got to say, in the context of everything that's going on in Washington in these days, John Fetterman makes more sense every day. He makes more and more sense because this town is so nutty. But he was asked about the President Trump picks for his cabinet, and Pete Hegseth, Department of Defense, and Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, and Aunt Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat Congresswoman from Hawaii, Army Lieutenant Colonel who actually deployed to combat zones, and John Fetterman, and the news media is yelling at him, "You're a Democrat senator. Won't you condemn Donald Trump's picks for cabinet positions? Isn't this the end of democracy? Isn't this terrible?" And John Fetterman, I got to say, had a world-class funny response.
I mean, I would describe it as God-tier level trolling to just trigger a full-on China syndrome to own the libs in perpetuity.
To own the libs in perpetuity, God tier, not high level, but God tier. That's what he said. God tier trolling, which is a pretty amazing turn of phrase, to own the libs forever, because he picks these people and they all go crazy. And even Fetterman sees it, and he's looking at it, and he's, not exactly normal, but he's a Democrat and he's a senator, and they picked him over Dr. Mehmet Oz, right? World-renowned thoracic surgeon, a television show host, loved by Oprah. Oprah turns on people like that, doesn't she? Boy, and then she lies about getting paid $1 million to support the Democrat nominee for president. Isn't that amazing? But God tier level trolling, he said. Man, oh man. And the Democrats, they're going to go crazy, and he's going to own the libs forever because he is trolling them. God tier, God level trolling. Isn't that amazing? And then after talking to the press out, I guess he was walking across Capitol Hill when that happened, or maybe even with the echo in the building. And then he went home, Fetterman did, and he made a video of himself, and he posted this video online where he said pretty much the same thing.
It's just nothing but trolling. And, even the Republicans know who he is. And it's, again, we all know what, the Democrat side is going to be. That's where the interesting, the interesting answers are going to come from my colleagues on the GOP that are going to vote or justify voting for that mess.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Who's your vice president? Who's your president? Who's your daddy? Who do you people have? How you got a retired 4-star Army general to become Secretary of Defense. He's been a catastrophe. From Afghanistan to war in Europe to war in the Middle East and that ridiculous, what did they call that? That pier, that floating disaster that they set up in Gaza for hundreds of millions of dollars that killed one American soldier, dead now, and was just a calamity. And honestly, this 4-star general, Lloyd Austin, has been a disaster. Just embarrassing for all of us. And our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who's the guy that incited the intelligence community to come up with that felonious 51 lie about the Hunter Biden laptop reporting. And somebody needs to be held accountable for that. I've got to say, I think incoming CIA director is going to have to raise some hell. I'd really like to see people held accountable for that felonious 51. I don't think it's ever going to happen, I'm sorry to say, but amazing stuff. And we've got outside of the government, but inside of the government, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are being called in to run the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and all the media is against government efficiency. All you have to do is say department, and it's not really a department. It's kind of an outside. It's a almost tongue-in-cheek because there's this cryptocurrency, Doge, right? And so they got the Department of Government Efficiency, and it just reveals the Democrats and the media, but I repeat myself, to be absolutely opposed to the very mention of government efficiency. How dare you? You know, we're spending about $2 trillion a year more every year than we were before the Wuhan Red Death came along out of Wuhan, China, and the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, which the government, our government, lied to us about again and again, and some continue to lie about. And you remember they lied that they didn't give any money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology while they were studying germ warfare. And then we found out they did. And then they lied to us that it wasn't being used for gain-of-function research on bio and bioweapons and so on. And then we found out that it was. Then we found out that Anthony Fauci approved it. And it was he proves a lot of stuff. He might have lost track somewhere along the way. And now we found out yesterday that Anthony Fauci has enjoyed $15 million in security that we've been providing, with armed men carting him around and driving him, limousine, doubtless bulletproof, and private security people. I've told you that my best girl and I were sitting on a patio of a Mexican restaurant in Washington, D.C., and saw Anthony Fauci doing his fast walk by with a big security guy fast walking along next to him because, you know, he's a former government employee, and he was the highest paid government employee when he was paid more than the president of the United States when he was working for the government because he's a famous doctor and everything. And then he left, and we've given him $15 million in security just for him. Isn't that amazing? Wah, wah, wah. But we're spending now $2 trillion a year more than we were before the Wuhan Red Death. And some will say, well, it's because of the Wuhan Red Death, and on and on. But whatever, let's have Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, two, I think, rather successful individuals, to take a look at government efficiency, or the lack thereof. Isn't that amazing? So then they say that they're planning on targeting that excess. Where did that extra $2 trillion a year come from in our budgets? And what can we do to trim that stuff? Seems like a good idea to me. But you mention it to the media and other Democrats, and they immediately get a sour look on their face and say, what? Well, no, government. We like government inefficiency. We're against government efficiency. Got that coming up, and more, too. And a lot of people talking about Matt Gaetz. That's for sure. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally available to all of us. It builds on the incredible success of the previous generations. And I've got two of them at home myself. And the old models earned thousands of five-star reviews online, quickly became a bestseller. But the newest, bestest Thunderstorm uses two technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air, removes dust, pet dander, smoke, and more. And it helps get rid of nasty odors. No filters to replace again and again, too. You can hold one in your hand. They're only this big. The Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. You know, odors from trash cans and shoes and musty basements and left-wing protesters. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The smell will disappear in just a few seconds with the Thunderstorm being on. And right now, you can save $200 American on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. You get 3 units. Put one in your bedroom, in your kitchen, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, CHRIS, and the number 3 to save $200 because you hang out with me on 3 thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. All right, a lot to get to still, and very little time to do it. But politics. Trump's picks for the cabinet and our corrupt news media responding. Okay. A lot more to get to before we wrap up today. We have more than an hour remaining. And right now we have Matt on the phone calling from Charleston, South Carolina. Matthew, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Just great. Couldn't be better.
Listen, I got a couple of things. Real quick. I know we're short on time. So if I look up on the Internet, oxymoron, I find out that it's government efficiency.
Yeah, that's right. That's very good, yeah.
But the biggest thing is all these people that want to move overseas,
mm-hmm.
Don't you think that they hate us enough because we're a proud nation? Now we're going to send these people over there? Couldn't we just roll over that fat guy up in Michigan and roll him over, put him on a barge? And
Michael Moore?
Canada? Yes, that's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to say it. You can say it. But can we just send all these people over so they'll hate us even more?
Well, if we send these left-wing America haters over to Europe, then the Europeans will hate America even more. That's, I hadn't really even given that a lot of thought. I think that's a very interesting thought, man. One way or the other, I'd certainly like to see them leave. I think it would be hilarious if they did leave and they'd make good on their word.